right, welcome back. You're watching the Weekly Brief. This is our weekly podcast, and let's pivot now to something big that broke during this week, and that was to do with US finally going ahead and sanctioning two of Russia's largest refineries, both Rosneft as well as Lukoil, and there's a direct ramification of that on India. There could be an indirect one on India as well. The direct ramification being by way of Reliance Energy and Naira, both their stock prices getting hit and both now finding themselves in a bit of this oil spill and expanding, hopefully, their sourcing and their procurement geographies. Now, there could be an indirect ramification too, and that happens by way of India actually reducing, if not completely halting its purchase of Russian oil to go ahead and finally stitch that trade deal with the United States. So let's take a few steps back and begin first. Rakesh, let me start by asking you this entire issue of Russian oil purchases and the hallucinations that we spoke about last week as well, with Donald Trump really assuming that he has spoken to Prime Minister Modi and Ministry of External Affairs denying it. And now we also have some sort of a consensus with opposition Shashi Tharoor coming on record and saying that, Donald Trump need not be India's spokesperson and India will make whatever announcements it has to make. Now the point is, sanctions have now been imposed and India buying Russian oil becomes more difficult. What does India do?
Quickly, 2-3 points, Karthik. 34% of India's current import bill in oil is coming from Russia.
Yes.
So it's not 100%.
That's right.
As some people, want to believe.
That's right. And 60% of that 34% comes from these two companies which have been sanctioned.
That's right. The rest of the companies, the problem with Reliance and Naira Energy is that they are coming directly from these two companies.
That's right.
Especially Reliance.
That's right.
And Naira with Rosneft, because Rosneft owns Naira.
Absolutely.
The other point is that with all the state refining oil companies are not hit right away. Will not be hit beyond November 21.
All right.
The reason for that is because they are operating through intermediaries.
Okay.
So intermediaries have a cover as of now.
That's
it could be a fig leaf, but that cover is there.
That's right.
That cover is not available to Reliance and Naira.
Okay.
So we have a challenge.
Right.
I mean, the challenge was already there. It's got intensified. It's got more complex. Then what happens is that the price range that you're talking about, importing, inflation, is luckily within, a certain range as of now.
Because oil is trading, I think on Friday morning we checked, oil was trading at about $60 a barrel. India's threshold for inflation would be oil at beyond $70. We still have that gap of $10.
No, even if it goes to 75, there is a louder estimate that there will be a 2% growth in our oil import bill if this particular provision fails.
Okay.
My own sense is November 21 when it kicks off. Am I right?
Yes.
Then, it's just a phone call away between Putin and, Trump that it's restored back. And let's also put it in context. UK has already imposed those sanctions.
Correct.
And there are ways around.
Like European Union as well.
That's right. That's right. So 3 countries who are going to source suddenly a lot of oil, Turkey, India and China.
True.
Where is that going to come from? So Africa and the Middle East.
Okay.
So, that could bring in a new price dynamics in oil, which have been very stable.
Would it be Africa and Middle East, or could it be the United States of America, and hence, Karthikeya, the final sort of contours of the trade deal, India increasing its energy produced from Russia and India reducing its energy procurement from, I beg your pardon, India increasing it from the US and reducing it from Russia?
But there's about a 5% increase already from US.
Okay.
So that's already been effected. I'll just add one more point. There's one bigger problem here. India's demand for oil is bound to raise because you have seen the this Bachat Utsav and the number of cars being sold on every factory, even is going to increase. So that range is said to be by experts to the 2 to 4%. So that's one more variable which could hurt India.
But is this sanctions on two Russian large refineries going to eventually lead to India and US signing that trade deal?
I hope so, because see, there are 3 things. One, the sanction economy of Americans, which was never debated, has come on table for the first time. Then not only unilaterally they impose tariff, but there's something called sanction economy, which has been in existence for the last 40 years, and many people wouldn't talk about it.
That's right.
Sanctions
Venezuela, Iran,
sanction economy.
Afghanistan.
The second thing is that we Indians were able to escape it, but now it's catching up. Prime Minister has done a good job, but then it's affecting our diplomatic choices. Prime Minister did not go to UNGA because talks are there happening. There was a issue of de-dollarization in BRICS. Jai Shankar represented us. Then Prime Minister, it was a last minute invitation. We sent a junior minister, Sharmul Sheikh. The top leaders of the world came, and now he's not going to ASEAN. So that's the fourth thing. I don't want to read too much into it, but I do understand the consequence of Trump's impracticality or Trump's transactional politics. And the third issue is, ask and leverage are two important things in politics or foreign policy. Will there be another ask? Will there be a third ask? And then what will be our leverage in terms of, you said 34%? Okay, that's done. But if there's a second ask, then what? I think that's going to be, that's my basic fear, because this guy is going to be there for 3 more years. He's not going away. And the worst part, Steve Bannon is giving interviews that he's going to be here for the 3rd time, and people ask him how there has been no amendment to the constitution, and he says, you will see. As if the God has asked him to continue.
Well, Steve Bannon has his own credibility issues.
but as an individual, it scares me, sir. You know why? Because anyway, we as a country are dealing with leaders forever. Asim Munir, Xi Jinping, Putin, Myanmar's junta. This guy is not going anywhere. The premier of Bangladesh was supposed to be out in 3 months. He's still there.
Sure.
That's so
I want to ask a slightly more difficult question, if I may, and that is also something that people in general are talking about, especially newsroom conversations are rife about the fact that Prime Minister Modi will potentially meet President Donald Trump only when there is a concrete announcement to be made. Now the timing of that announcement will also have to be absolutely critically, politically measured. Is there a plausible reason for Prime Minister Modi not attending the ASEAN summit? Because, hey, maybe there is an agreement on blurring of some of those red lines on agriculture and dairy, and those announcements should not be made before the Bihar elections.
Well, I think, this is in the level of...
Is it conjecture?
That's a very good question, because a lot of people I spoke to said serious level of conversation is happening between India and United States of America, and Prime Minister does not want to disturb that conversation. Keeping in mind the personality of Donald Trump, who has this habit of monetizing anything that is personal, impromptu and casual. That's where the problem is.
Agriculture, dairy, soybean, corn imports, relaxing dairy imports, especially cheese, all this is likely to impact Bihar and Bihar's economy.
So it's not going to happen. My sense is that it will definitely happen post 14th November when the results are out. And then there are state elections next year also. West Bengal is there, Tamil Nadu is there. So there are challenges, if I'm right. So agriculture will not stop being a sensitive issue politically.
And
in the next
sense of immediacy is there right now as we record this podcast. That sense of immediacy may not be there on post 14th of November potentially.
Well, I mean, I think, dairy could be some concessions, but not, GM crops. Because RSS, is so ideologically inclined against, and it has gone on record. So then there will be severe problems between BJP and RSS.
But more in terms of soybean and maize as well as dairy, especially cheese imports. I think dairy is also a big sector in Bihar.
India's big success story in the last 10 years has been milk production. And we are milk surplus, and now we are producing. Amul is setting a plant in US, and it comes through thanks to Mr. Trump. So in that sense, again, disturbing that would be a challenge.
All right.
Here's the last say when it comes to economy, but on Bihar, I'll agree, because Bihar is the only North Indian state where BJP does not have a chief minister. Every North Indian Hindi-speaking state, BJP has had a chief minister. Punjab, I wouldn't call it a Hindi heartland state. It's not a Hindi heartland state.
I think from a dairy
politically, but Bihar, they don't have one, and they will not take the risk.
But that's not right. They have a chief minister who is even more, amenable to them.
Well, we agree to disagree on the weekly brief, and that's the beauty of it. Well, I don't know if any of you are Swifties, but my 10-year-old daughter sure is. We will discuss how Taylor Swift is actually breaking the record of the Beatles and how that's coming up.